What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Rob's Gaming Table. Today on the table we have another Game of Thrones A Card Game 2nd Edition tournament video for you, brought to you by the supporters of the channel that donate at patreon.com/Rob's Gaming Table. Thank you so much for the support. In this one we got a special one. We got Guillaume playing Greyjoy Greensight, not a common deck, against Michael playing Tyrell Wars to Come. This is the second top 4 match. If you haven't seen all the previous matches from this tournament series, we got Swiss games, elimination games, and all that fun stuff at Rob's Gaming Table in a playlist. And the finals will be coming up next, so subscribe and stay tuned for that. On the left, we got the High Tower Spy set up with a High Tower, Flea Bottom, and a Rose Garden. Quite the setup for the Tyrell player. Has the High Garden protected from a Nothing Burns like the Cold Start up there with the Flea Bottom. A little bit of economy and a character. On the other side, we got Stony Shore Raider, Triss Botley. That can possibly mess up the Tyrell player's plans by taking cards out of the game and not allowing the Tyrell player to play other copies of them. And it looks like we have Corpse Lake on the bottom and an Iron Fleet Scout.
No, I mean like with the Greensight. Yeah. I'm ready.
So we have a Late Summer Feast flipped into Time of Plenty. We've seen Michael on previous matches. We've seen both these guys on previous matches, actually. And it seems to be a common opening for these two. Time of Plenty, drawn an extra card each in the draw phase. And Late Summer Feast, just looking to get a lot of gold. Put a lot on the board. Hopefully don't hit your reserve too hard of 5. And hopefully don't let your opponent draw too many cards off of that. Sounds like the Tyrell player's chosen the Greyjoy player to go first. So they're going to do Greensight here. Looks like Varys and a copy of an Iron Islands Fish Market. And he will kneel his faction card to trigger the Greensight to send them both to the discard pile. And gets a power on Corpse Lake because it's a character being discarded off the top of the deck, I think is how that is worded.
How long before he tells you that you're not allowed to sit there?
Yeah, it's a reaction on Corpse Lake there is after character is discarded from an opponent's deck, Corpse Lake gains 1 power limit 3 times per round. So a nice little combo there with the Greensight, plus Greyjoy's Pillage, of course. And for those that don't know, Greensight is a forced reaction after the draw phase begins. Reveal the top card of each player's deck. Then it says you may kneel your faction card to discard those cards. So it has to happen. Forced reaction. So 9 gold to work with here on the Greyjoy side. Looks like he marshals out an Iron Islands Fishmonger and a Great Haul for his limited. Just a little bit of econ boost there. And we see Euron Crow's Eye out there right off the bat here, first round. And a Lordsport Shipwright to mess with Flea Bottom possibly. And the final gold looks like it's being spent on a crown attachment there. The King of Salt and Rock, I think it's called. Euron is now a king and has pillage. And then I think it's when a location or attachment's discarded off the deck. Just double check. It's got a reaction after an attachment or location is discarded using pillage. Attached character gains 1 power. So over to the Tyrell player for his marshalling. 6 gold to work with right now. He's got Rose Garden to help out. Let's see how he's going to answer this this crazy board over here on the Greyjoy side of things. Can he stop Euron? Remember that Iron Fleet Scout is out there. It's giving a +2 if used, since the Greyjoy player is going first. Tyrell player needs to just protect High Garden. as best he can, not let through any unopposed challenges. There is no gold right now saved on the Greyjoy side, so at least you don't have to worry about We Do Not Sow right now. And since he has Flea Bottom and High Tower in play, if Euron were to pillage them off the top of the deck, he can't put them into play because there's already unique versions of them in play on his opponent's side that he owns. But we know Old Town's in the deck. We know Redwind Straits is in the deck that's not on the board yet. So stealing those could be helpful for the Greyjoy player. Another scary thing is we know this Tyrell deck does have Valar Morghulis in it, as we've seen in previous matches, and that Greyjoy board does not have an Iron Mine sitting out there. No duplicates on Euron or Triss. He may have a Risen in hand. It looks like the Tyrell player dropped his cards here. Just can't decide what to do with them, so he throws them all on the board. He goes with Mace here to start. So he does the reaction off of High Tower to get a gold and draw a card. So unless he puts some protection on Mace here, I don't think we have to worry about that Valar Morghulis I was just mentioning. I thought maybe we'd see an early Valor here from the Tyrell player. I don't think so at this point. Looks like he's going the Mace route here, though, and try to rack up as much power on Mace as he can. He hasn't triggered Mace here yet to get a power on him. He's going to do Flea Bottom, though. That's smart against the Greyjoys. Oh, Mace has got a dupe. I take it back. Valar Morghulis could be a thing here. An early Valor could wreck the Greyjoy player. And Old Town on the board. He's increased the menu of options here for a We Do Not Sow in the future. Or options, I guess, for that Lordsport Shipwright on the board could be used to kneel Old Town. Looks like that's it, and we're on to challenges here. No Lordsport Shipwright trigger. So Militaire here with the Stony Shore Raider. Looks like the Greyjoy player is going to go aggressive here and not worry about losing cards with the force reaction off of his plot. So it does go unopposed. They should have triggered the force reaction already. Claim is the High Tower Spy. See if they catch the plot there, the force reaction. And then we have a power with Triss Botley here for 3. So no defenders on that. So you should be drawing another card there. Let's hope they catch this. I think they do. I just can't remember. I was sitting beside the table, I'm pretty sure, at this point, but. And Pillage, yeah, see, this would have affected Pillage. Now there's an Old Town coming off the top. Yeah, it definitely would have affected Pillage. So we got a trigger on the King of Salt and Rock here. So Euron gets a power. And that's going to be it for challenges. No attack here with Euron. He's going to stay back and play defensive. And I find that interesting. I guess it may stop the opponent from attacking since Euron's out there, but I mean, getting that extra pillage off Euron when you're playing Iron Islands Fish Markets, which we see in the discard pile of the Greyjoy player, might be good to be more aggressive. Get another card in the discard pile. Could get those gold locations turned on, assuming you see another one. I know maybe he's only playing 1 or 2, but another Renown on Euron could be a thing. Could hit the King of Salt and Rock again. Could hit a Corpse Lake. So it could be some extra power gain. But then again, he could also lose another card. But he hasn't been losing or allowing his opponent to draw another cards, which he hasn't been catching. He's going to remove Varys from the game using Triss, though, so he can't play another Varys. We assume he's only has one, but you never know. That's hurting. That's hurting what I was just talking about, filling up the discard pile. Looks like Guillaume's not too worried about having 8 cards in the discard pile. So yeah, he's yeah, so Guillaume just caught it. Now he's telling the Tyrell player he should have drawn 2 cards. So it has to be triggered. It's an option for the Tyrell player. He doesn't have to draw it, but he should have the option. Which it kind of messed with things like, yeah, it gets weird with Pillage because a card would have been drawn before, 2 cards would have been drawn before Pillage, and something else could have come off the top of the deck. Could have been a Corpse Lake trigger, a King of Salt and Rock trigger. Could have made him want to attack with Euron to steal a different location. Who knows?
You know what? I got 7 cards. I'm within reserve. I don't feel like this.
So it sounds like the Tyrell player doesn't want to draw anymore. He's already within reserve. He doesn't want to go over it.
Oh, okay.
He's just checking Corpse Lake to make sure discarding cards doesn't from his hand doesn't activate Corpse Lake, which it doesn't. So at this point, he chooses not to draw, but I think he takes a minute, then changes his mind. I think. But you heard us. We're from the side of the board there. We're trying to explain to him that, you know, it had to happen, so it's his option. And that's how they wanted to resolve it here instead of rewinding back and undoing anything. It was just, do you want the cards or don't you? But at least they caught it before taxation. A little awkward. Yeah, so Tyrell player's continuing to stare at his hand here. I think he changes his mind and wants to dig for something. So he'd rather draw the cards and discard stuff. And since he has Flea Bottom out, I don't know why you wouldn't, because you could just discard some Flea Bottom targets in there into your discard pile. Unless he's worried about the Greyjoy player stealing stuff out of the discard pile. Maybe he's got a handful of locations. I don't know. But I think all his important ones are on the board, really, so I don't think he has to worry about that.
You're thinking about drawing
Actually taking the cards.
technically should keep the game like in a legal state.
Yeah, but it's still his choice.
Yeah, it's his choice to draw the cards. I was goofed up there. It's like, yeah, it's just wonky. Now watching it after the fact that it could have changed the Pillage is a little weird. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think, how we should have resolved this. I mean, not that serious here, but it's just, you know, I say just draw the cards, see what you get, dump your other stuff. I don't know what's in his hand, though, but you just keep the game going. Both players missed it at the time. So he is going to draw the 2. He's going to decide what to keep and then discard a couple cards, I think, to hit his reserve. So he's going to discard a Begging Brother, which is a Flea Bottom target, and if you save gold, you can bestow it after it comes into play, even off a Flea Bottom.
You could have put a different color scheme.
And sometimes you can't even tell how much gold was spent because guys go quickly and which one is it? Yeah, twice.
Alright, so ready to go here. He looks like he put a Hand's Judgment in the discard pile. He flips the Valar Morghulis, which I was talking about. I couldn't remember if it happened this early, but yeah, he's betting that the Greyjoy player has no saves in hand, and we got a Heads on Spikes flipped on the other side. Looking to hit a Renly, a Large Marge, a Randall, Knight of Flowers even. Something good in hand, I'm sure.
Which one
So the Greyjoy player is choosing to go first.
I don't think it's my choice, but my hat's first.
He hits a Paxter Redwind, so that's 2 power. And he's going to the dead pile. Greyjoy player at 7 power now. And then Valar Morghulis, Mace gets saved, obviously. And no saves in hand. Euron is dead. And yeah, the Tyrell player just saying he's gambled there. He gambled. Betting on no Risen. And throwing the Hand's Judgment in the discard pile. I don't know. If you're worried about Greyjoy saving with Risen, you save those Hand's Judgments. That's what I think, but... So Hagen's Daughter, and looks like left discarded off the top of the deck with Greensight. Corpse Lake gains a power. Greyjoy player back at 7. Tyrell player at 0, but he has Mace on the board, and the Greyjoy player has no characters. At least the Greyjoy player has a bit of gold on his plot card. Not as low as Valar Morghulis, but... Oh, actually, Tyrell player's going first. Chose by the Greyjoy player. So he collects his 2 gold. He has a Rose Garden. As long as he can put a little character into play here, he can get another gold and draw off a High Garden. Does have a big hand, though. Now he's only got 5 reserve. The Tyrell player does, so his discard pile is going to get a little more full, most likely, here. He's got to get something out there to protect Mace, though. He can't leave Mace unexposed. 0 claim. He's got the opponent coming at him with 1 claim on a military, possibly. This is very risky. Very risky by the Tyrell player here to do this. He could save a gold and have Flea Bottom for protection, I guess. Assuming there's no Nightmares played on it in the challenge phase. So he's going to do Old Town here. I think he named character. Scheming Septon, he hit it, so he draws it and gets a power. Is that the character he needed? Maybe he didn't have another cheap character in hand. So that was a risk, but he got one. So he could play him. Oh, he's got left in hand. Never mind. He plays left instead. And he gets a card and a gold. So make sure you guys come and check out the Rochester, New York Regional at Millennium Games coming up on August 25th. I should be there. Come say hi. Play some games. Get recorded. Afterwards, come and watch some videos on the channel. Should be a good time. That store owner usually throws in some additional prize support into the pool for like top of house and some extra random things. I think last year's regional I got a nice Greyjoy house card, wooden Greyjoy house card for making top of house, which was not an official prize by any means, but just additional prize there, for example. And then we got that Scheming Septon put into play on the other side. The Greyjoy player is going to marshal now. Let's see if he can recover as nicely as the Tyrell player did here. Here on Damp Air with a dupe. Looking to get Euron back into play after winning Dominance. Just needs like an Iron Throne here. Card in Shadows. It looks like that's going to be it. Oh no. No military icon on the board to put pressure on the Tyrell player. Ugh. At least Aaron has a dupe on him. No gold left on the Greyjoy side to bring that card out of shadows.
Wait, hold on. Zero claim.
Yeah, Tyrell player was going to attack there on a military, realized he has 0 claim. Even though I still would. Get an unopposed power out of it by the looks of it. I think maybe he's worried about leaving himself open for a military attack, but I mean, no gold saved on the Greyjoy side most likely means you're not going to have a character jumping out at you. The only thing that I could think that happens is like an Iron Bank event, returning Aeron back to hand, getting 3 gold, paying for a Nighttime Marauders out of shadows here, and doing a sneaky military, but I don't see him returning a duped Aeron Dampere back to hand, but you never know.
I don't do any challenge, we skip dominance.
So no challenges on the Tyrell side. He passes over to the Greyjoy player. Greyjoy player does no challenges, and they go to dominance. So obviously the Tyrell player will win dominance. I think that's what the Tyrell player was scared of, doing any challenges here. He didn't want to leave Dampere to win dominance and bring back in Euron. So dominance will go to the Tyrell player.
As a dom action, I'll use Mace's ability.
He's going to do Mace's ability and dominance here. So that way at the start of the standing phase, the character will come into play. High tower will trigger, draw a card, get a gold, and then you can use the gold to pay for power on Mace. So he does the seeming acceptance, leaves play. Comes back in, triggers high tower. Which is, I believe, a limit once per phase. And he draws a card and gains a gold. And then spends the gold to trigger Mace. And then they should stand up all their cards. And taxation here should hit the Tyrell player pretty big. It's got to get rid of 4 cards, it sounds like. Isle of Ravens. Brienne of Tarth. And Littlefinger. So we just need the Greyjoy player to find Naga's ribs here, and then hopefully can help him win dominance. And we can see Euron back in play. And the Arbor's in there too. Forgot about that location. If Euron does come back, he's going shopping for an Isle of Ravens or an Arbor. Most likely Arbor first, but but maybe the Tyrell player is sitting on a dupe of the Arbor in hand, and he's going to play that out this turn here. We'll see. If the Tyrell player is playing March to the Wall, we're going to see that now to get rid of Dampere out of play. Not sure if he is, though, but I think he would have picked his plot a lot quicker if so. But I think that would cripple the Greyjoy player completely. But Greyjoy player still is in the lead with 7, 3 on the Tyrell side. It's the race to the passive power gain here. You got Mace gaining passive power, you got Corpse Lake gaining passive power. See who will get there in the end.
In my discard? A lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So 9 in the discard is above that magic number the Greyjoy player wants to see for those markets. All right, ready for plots. Here we go. Valor on the other side into Time of Plenty. So he returned the favor there with a Snap Valor, saving a character on his side this time and killing 7 coster on the other side. So Mace is dead. Euron is dead. We have quite the bloody battle here. It's been a good game so far, I think. Only in round 3. Just beginning round 3 here. Or 2 Valar Morghulis. So we got, looks like an Old Town of Former and a We Do Not Sow coming off the top of the deck. Getting a power on Corpse Lake, of course, using Greensight there. So the Greyjoy player's down to 8 power now. And they'll draw an extra card there off a Time of Plenty. Only problem is the Greyjoy player's got low gold right now, low economy. Can he get anything going? You gotta spend economy to win dominance here. You gotta put bodies on the board. You gotta get locations out that help you win dominance. Like Naga's Ribs or an Iron Throne or something. Dampere is a good start, but he's gotta back it up here and hope that the Tyrell player just doesn't flood the board with more bodies and high strength.
I'll say character.
He's gonna do an Old Town here. For character, hits a Great Hall. So there's something else that could come off the top of the deck on a pillage. That would be good to steal by the Greyjoy player. Just need to get Euron back in play. I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for Euron to get back into play. But if the Tyrell player plays careful and doesn't lose dominance, he'll stop that. So he spends all of his gold and the Rose Road there just to get Renly on the board with a dupe.
Reaction?
And he's going to react with the High Tower. After playing the dupe, though, he's got to do that before he plays a duplicate. And he's going to draw a card and gain a gold. Of course, using the High Tower. Does he have anything else to do with the other gold here? Could just save it for Flea Bottom, of course. And he's going to spend 1 to get that Great Hall into play. Oh, I guess there's a different... Oh, no, it was the Great Hall he just drew off of High Tower. Yeah, because he did the Old Town first and then drew it with High Tower. So let's see what we get on the Greyjoy side. Another card into Shadows. I don't know. No gold left either on the Greyjoy side. This is not looking good. Does he have a save in hand to save Dampere from dying? If not, uh-oh. But actually the Tyrell player has passed challenges. He's betting there's a Risen in hand, doesn't have a hand judgment for it. So they'll go to dominance, the Tyrell player will win dominance, and that's it for the round.
I just gotta make sure this guy does not.
Yeah, Michael there is saying he's got to make sure he doesn't win dominance and trigger Aaron Dampere.
So I gotta check the cards.
And they got to do some taxation discarding here, most likely. You know, Tris Botley is going to get discarded. And what does that? Pay the Iron Price, the one that steals, or I guess plays the location, or an attachment, sorry, out of your opponent's discard pile. That seems pretty good with Greensight and Pillage.
How many cards you got in your hand?
So we got a trade routes into King of the North. So I think he still has a King attachment, the Greyjoy player does, in his hand still. And we obviously have a King out right now on the Tyrell side. It does make the Greyjoy player have to spend the gold to play that attachment in play. When he may have wanted to use the gold for something else like building up his board, playing some Shadows cards. So 8 gold off of the trade routes. And we got a Risen and a Growing Strong. Yeah, he won't discard it. He won't kneel his faction card to discard it. They're just going to draw it. Or do the normal draw phase. He definitely wanted that save event, that's for sure. And he makes Damper a king. So Tyrell player should have known. That was in play earlier. That was on your on when he died so long ago in turn 2, or round 2.
Or do you had it all on?
Just had it. Went back to hand right after the Valor. He had it on the guy in play.
Ah, yeah.
Should have known.
You can watch the video.
Yeah.
All right, there we got an Iron Mines in play. Some save action ready to go. He's got a Risen in hand at least.
Triggering some shadows. For shadows,
He's going to do some Shadows actions here. We got a Nighttime Marauder. He's going to look through the discard pile.
I'm choosing. Mace is dead. Mace. I'm gonna choose Isle of Ravens.
He's going to choose Isle of Ravens, which is a 1 cost. So he gets to see the Tyrell player's hand and force him to discard everything that's 1 cost.
They're all one. Oh, cool. Alright. So
he gets rid of 4 cards here. And he gets to see the rest. We got Tinder Margin there, Hands Judgment for that save we were talking about, Randall Tarley, and a Redwind Straits. Everything else gets discarded. So Great Hall, Growing Strong, and a Nightmares, and then that Oath Keeper. Thanks for showing us, Michael. I appreciate spreading it out for the camera to see.
Another Nighttime Marauders. He's going to empty my hand.
And yeah, he looks at the hand. He does possibly have a second Nighttime Marauders in Shadows. So he looked at the discard pile again to see what else he could pick for cost. He is going to do a second one. So now he can name 6 costs and get rid of Randall and Marjorie if there's a 6er in there. There is not, but he's going to name the X, which, like the 0 or whatever, which gets rid of Hand's Judgment. So it does make that Risen in his hand much better now that 2 Hand's Judgments are in the discard pile. And that's it for marshalling over to the Tyrell player. So we know you can marshal Randall or Marjorie right now. I think you go with Marge. Get her in the board. Worry about Randall next round, maybe. But then again, Randall could help you with the military on the board.
Well played, my friend. Well played.
So we got ourselves a game here. Tyrell player's down to 4 cards in hand here in marshalling. Although he could name Old Town, say character, see a character, draw a character, get a power, play a Tyrell character, draw another card, get a gold, and who knows what else he draws. So he's going to put Randall in play using the Rose Garden and the Great Hall. Draws a card and gets a gold off Hightower. Just needs to draw into another body here, I would think. Or maybe draws into another Growing Strong or something he can use on Randall to get a couple challenges out of him would be good. He's going to do Old Town. He's going to name character. And it is right. No, it looks like left. I think it was left. But he gets a gold, or gets a power, sorry, and draws the card.
Wrong guy looking in the wrong direction.
I think he's dead already, but I could be wrong. We'll see if he puts him in play or not.
I think that was the point.
Then the Tyrell player is going to check his discard pile here to see, hey, what can I bring into play? Flea Bottom. Do I save that gold for that? Yeah, he's got a Hightower Spy in hand now. Pays 2 for Redwind Straits.
First game, like, it's been so many rounds, and I still haven't, I took so many rounds before I played a gold communication. Okay.
And it's just on a gold over to the Greyjoy player for his challenges.
I'm gonna give you some renown. Military.
So he's going to come in on a military challenge here. Try to get him to kneel out some characters on his board. He wants to win that dominance still.
Let's see. I'm going to use Flea Bottom.
So he's going to do Flea Bottom here for a gold. He might just let this go unopposed here and kill somebody that doesn't matter really, like a Old Town Informer.
Trigger this.
And that allows him to trigger Hightower, of course, getting a gold and drawing a card.
Any more shenanigans?
You got 2 gold.
I have 2 gold.
Yeah, it'd have been crazy there if the Tyrell player had a 6-cost character in the discard pile when he did that second Marauders. Get rid of Marge and Randall in one shot. That'd have been insane. But it didn't happen. So we get a Renown, and there's another Marge. And he draws another one. Since it was loyal, he showed it there. And obviously successfully defended with Renly, gives him a power too. And a power for 3 with the Nighttime Marauders. Trying to get Randall to kneel down here. Just trying to win that dominance. Oh, he's actually going to do it with Aaron Dampier instead.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. I don't want to give you more pillage. How many cards are on you?
10. No, just 5. Wait, 8? It's a 10 for me.
I'll defend the power.
So he's going to block the power with Randall, just rack up some power on defense. Although he could have used the Iron Fleet Scout there. I think I pointed it out to him later in the game. And Guillaume, if you're watching this, that was the point where I think you should use the Iron Fleet Scout. Buff up Aaron Dampier to 5, and you could have win the challenge as the attacker. Yeah, not the biggest thing in the world, but it would have been a power he could have stolen from the Tyrell player there. And I think Guillaume just said he forgot it was there at this point. I think in his head he's just trying to win that dominance. So we got an unopposed intrigue coming the other way from the Tyrell player using that Old Town Informer. And we get Dagmar discarded, and that's a good hit, I think. It's Old Town across the board. Jeez. And the Flea Bottom. So Dominus goes to the Greyjoy player. We got the Damper trigger. Euron is back. Ladies and gentlemen, Euron is back. But is it too little too late at this point? When you got 2 Marges in hand, you got duped Renly on the board, you got Randall Tarley in play, they're racking up power. But I mean, a close call can get Mace out of the discard pile. I think there's 2 Maces gone already though. One in the discard, one in the dead, but still. The kind of draw that we're seeing this Tyrell deck do here, it's like easily you can get to that 3rd Mace. And we could have Mace gaining power really quick here. So the Tyrell player is at 7 power. And the Greyjoy player looks like he is at 9. So we need to see Euron and those Nighttime Marauders getting pillage crazy here. And with the King of Salt and Rock and Corpse Lake, that could be the Greyjoy player's way of speeding up his race for the win versus the Tyrell player doing it using Old Town and his Renowns there.
You choose.
So we have counting coppers into pulling the strings. So we're going to see a heads on spikes or a trade routes trigger here, I think were the options.
5, 6, 7. So I choose. You don't have nice. You're first.
So the Greyjoy player wins initiative, chooses the Tyrell player to go first.
Trade routes or heads on spikes.
Yeah, trade routes or heads on spikes are the choice. He knows Valar Morghulis is gone already, so he could go crazy with the trade routes and just start bombing out dudes on the board. Or saving it for ambush or dominance. We see the Stony Shore Raider Ironborn still in the dead pile of the Greyjoy player. So he does have another Ironborn he can bring out at least. I think he could also bring a Lordsport Shipwright. I think he has in the dead pile there.
This one. No.
Then I got 3.
I think you still would have liked keeping it.
And then we do this. Reveal the cards.
So we got Greensight. We see an Iron Islands Fish Market and a Garden Caretaker. He chooses to discard to get that power on Corpse Lake since it's a character. I don't know if that was the best call there. Getting some more economy might be helpful when you're looking at the economy across the board, but
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
Don't you be getting into this funny math with the tokens. I'm like,
Man, you're playing an engineer. What do
I
you
know,
think? He's
I know.
constantly calculating. When he gets at home, he must be. You don't have any problem sleeping ever, right? Counting sheep. I'm sure he's just exhausted. Switch goes to off, and that's it.
so Tyrell player doing his marshalling here. 5 gold from the plot, 2 from Red Wind Straits. Got a Great Hall and a Rose Garden out there. Of course, Marge comes into play. He's going to use the Great Hall and the Rose Garden to do that. 3 more gold spent, obviously. And we know he has the dupe in hand, but he's going to trigger High Garden first here. Draws his card, gets a gold. And he gets a milk on Euron. That is sad face. Sad face. Euron there loses ability, loses renown.
oh, am I the first?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Why do you have to do
yeah, I
that?
guess I'm first. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Alright, like here I'm just hanging out.
Crown on Randall.
And Randall Tarley gets a crown of golden roses, which is great for pitching cards and standing him back up.
The one that's not dead.
And we get Wright in play, who is not dead. We just heard Michael say is the one that's not dead.
Dupe.
And the dupe on Marge.
Alright.
So Tyrell player board looking quite juicy there with the renowned bodies.
Over to you.
Now the crazy part is he could kill a Randall and get a mace back in play if he's got a mace in the deck. Oh no, he hasn't done close call yet. Sorry, no close call's been played to move mace out of the dead pile yet. My bad.
You're on just on time. Because there's an arbor here for you to take.
So nothing marshaled on the Greyjoy side. He's going to sit on 2 gold. Not good at all. He's definitely going to be on the back foot here. Just trying to block on opposed where he can. Maybe win some challenges, but you can throw Randall in on a couple challenges, buff him up by 2, maybe 4 at some point, and got Renly and Marge here. This could get disgusting here. Yeah, it's sad seeing 2 Iron Islands fish markets in the discard pile there when the Tyrell discard pile is so big at this point. Greyjoy player could have been rolling in gold by now. But I mean, he also wouldn't have a couple power on his Corpse Lake there if he didn't put them in the discard pile.
Military?
So military challenge with Randall and Wright. So it's for 7 right now. But he could pitch a card and make Randall 7, so it could be 9 strength, and Randall would stand up.
Well, yeah, if somehow you're actually standing.
So he's 7.
That you'd actually do that, which correct. What's that? Once around.
As a Greyjoy player, I would probably just block the opposed. And then pitch an Iron Mines or use a Risen. Well, I'd maybe use the Risen first, maybe. Since you know Valar Morghulis has been pinned on both sides early in the game. And if you don't think it's going to go that long, this is a timed 55-minute game. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about going to like the 11th plot. But, and yeah, we just had a count for Michael there, realizing they're only on plot 5. So I'd probably just try to use the Risen to raise someone's strength on the board. And if that gets Hand's Judgment, then use an Iron Mines. as backup, just to keep your board. You don't want to lose a character here. That Risen can help you with the +1 strength buff, win some challenges, or maybe win dominance again. He's going to defend for 9, though. He does realize he has an Iron Fleet Scout there that could buff for 1 strength also. So maybe he's hoping the Tyrell player just pitches. Tyrell player could get it up 2 more strength. I mean twice. Could get up 4 strength buff using the crown twice here.
So I'm at 7 strength.
Yes.
Discard the dead guy.
He's going to pitch left, who is dead.
And I stand. Reaction.
He's going to stand with the crown of golden roses there.
Something I forgot several
I
times.
pumped him. Oh, pumped him +1.
So he's going to use the Iron Fleet Scout
Yeah.
to bring it up to 10 on the defense. 9 on the offense. But another card pitched. Gets him there.
I'll discard another one.
Yeah, he's going to do another one, a High Tower Spy. And, yeah, that wins it. Renown on Randall.
Claim. Military claim.
Yeah. Just a second.
Got the Iron Mines. Oh, and the Risen. That's your death power, right?
Yes.
Are there any more Ironborns in here?
There was 2, I think.
Yeah, these 2.
Yeah, there are a couple Ironborns there. The Iron Fleet, or Lord Sport Shipwright and the Stony Shore Raider. Which aren't the biggest characters to get back into play, but I mean, hey, if you're winning dominance anyway, getting a power, why not get a 2-cost character and play on top of that? Seems like it's value. So yeah, he chooses the standing. Nighttime Marauders there as claim, saves him with Risen, so he gets a +1 strength on him, so he's now 4. So the sad part is he can now throw a power through. We could do an intrigue on oppose with like Marge or Renly. And then throw whoever's left into a power challenge with Randall. He could flea bottom in a High Tower Spy off of Randall, or targeting Randall, buff him up, stand him back up, get an additional power on or an additional stand out of Randall, which would help for dominance if he even needs to. I don't even know if he needs to, but. Or you could just do a little intrigue with the High Tower Spy, or Old Town Informer, sorry, that's on the board. Now, question. That Old Town Informer, was that not a flea bottom play earlier? Should that not be at the bottom of the deck? I have lost track, though, so I could be completely wrong.
For the end of challenge or the phase? This thing?
9 strength power.
So Randall coming in on the power by himself here, which is not the worst thing in the world, for 9. And then you could throw Randall, or sorry, Marjorie and Renly in on an intrigue after this. But yeah, lots of power can be gained here on this turn for sure. Can he close it out though? I'm sure the Greyjoy player's running through his head now. If he lets it go unoppose, what's he going to be at? For an action, he's going to name character. It's a copy of Highgarden, and doesn't get to draw it. Doesn't get an extra power. So he's sitting at 8 power right now on the Tyrell side. He could claim and renown on the power challenge here. Maybe even on oppose. That's 3 more, putting him up to 12. And then Renly and Marge coming in on the intrigue unopposed is another 3 power, and that could close it. So he definitely has to block the unopposed here, I think.
Yeah, warp plot.
Definitely has to block the unopposed. He can't win it. I don't see that happening. He's definitely going to block the unopposed. He's going to let it go unopposed?
I guess.
Well, not many people are cheering you on.
Okay, now.
Start baby
This would have been I would have got the other one out. I would have kneeled whoever down. I don't know if you could Drew got to 15 power this turn?
I don't think so.
So I would beat yourself up over too much. I had
So 11 power now the Tyrell player's at. So I miscounted there, I guess.
Then again, I don't play it.
Renown.
So unoppose intrigue with just Renly. And he's going to claim here. He already put the renown on Renly.
hold on to it for days.
Yeah, yeah, big boy.
And Snoot the Barber discarded on the intrigue claim.
Live out our hands.
Does he remember the insight here? Oh, it sounds like he's not going to draw off the insight.
He had bigger
Power, but it's gone.
what you wanted. When you were slowing his power being down with this, this is really annoying to play against.
So 13 power on the Tyrell side.
That's why I wasn't too worried about giving up the outfit.
And now that the Greyjoy player will do his challenges for 7 here on the power challenge.
A little bit too much, give him a chance.
And we got Flea Bottom on a high tower spy. She's going to trigger on Randall, I'm sure.
Reaction.
What does it do? I would have
Plus strength.
with 92.
So if you were closer, really,
You couldn't win this turn.
I couldn't win. Oh, so
And it's going to be a +1 on Randall, which brings him up to 10.
14. Yes.
And Randall and Marge will go in on the defense.
So I defend for 15.
So I'd be at 14. I would.
And 15 strength defense, couple renown, and he closes it out. So just like that, Michael wins again on camera here. Every round he's won, and he's going to make it to the finals. So stay tuned. He'll play the winner of the other top 4 video we had on the channel. I won't spoil it for you, but finals coming up next, so make sure you subscribe for that. Hit that little alarm bell button to be notified when the video goes up, and make sure you hit that like button on these Game of Thrones videos. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. We'll see you in the next one.